something unbalanced, lopsided about it. And this has to be corrected. And you have to have a picture of this. In the ordinary way of thinking, we suppose that if we know how something is made and how it works, and know which buttons to press, that we can get the results that we're looking for. In practice, we find that this doesn't always work. Things go out of order, and they don't last forever, and something which works today may not work tomorrow. So that the world in which we actually live is not, and obviously not, a perfectly constructed machine. This is the first approach to this cosmology, or this picture of the cosmos that we get from Gurdjieff. That it's not practical, not right, to expect to understand this world as one could understand a perfect piece of machinery. That is, as long as one knows how it's all put together and designed and what it's intended to do, one then knows all about it and can always make it work. Though people don't say this about the world, they do, for example, in scientific thinking, take this as a sort of basic axiom, as to something that is a presupposition, that if one only knew enough about the way the world is put together and how it works, so that means its laws, we should be able to adapt ourselves to it and to a great extent to control it. And this is the aim of science, to be able to predict, to adapt, to control. The world is not like that, and we are discovering this the hard way, especially in this latter part of the 20th century. We are being forced to see that there's something really wrong about supposing that if one only knew enough, one would be able to cope with any situation that could arise. A great illusion was created, a great new illusion for man by the arriving of the digital computer, or computers in general. That it was thought, now we have an instrument by which we can so use our knowledge that we can really predict what's going to happen and eventually get control. And it's worked out exactly the opposite way. This attempt at prediction has got us into greater trouble than when we went on hunches. This is the bitter lesson that mankind is learning, that knowledge is not enough. That really is the fundamental message of this chapter. It's put in an allegorical way that there is a way of looking at the world which looks for neat and tidy laws. And that is the first picture that's given here, where the laws of connectedness and of causality were all working perfectly, and everything was predictable. But then it was discovered that what was predictable was that under those circumstances the world would come to a stop, because what we now call the second law of thermodynamics, or the law of the degradation of energy, or the law of increasing entropy. This is what is said in just exactly the same, in slightly different words, when it was said that our Creator endlessness could saw that with the world created as it was, to realize itself in time, it was inevitable that it would wear away and finally come to a stop. And therefore something had to be done in order to introduce into the world the possibility of self-renewal, of recreation, of compensating for the action of time, or as we might say, compensating for entropy. That is the first thing that comes up at the beginning of this chapter, that the world is not constructed so that it is a thermodynamic machine. It's constructed with something else in it. There is also intelligence, which works differently, and this intelligence is represented in this chapter as the action of our endless Creator in changing the working of the laws so that there would be uncertainties in the laws themselves, and making use of those uncertainties, one could create what we call feedback. And from that feedback to make self-renewal, self-regulation possible. All that is expressed in the word, overcoming the merciless hero. Now, 2 or 3 people ask the question, why